border war. Fans called it Moonshine Throwdown. I think that's the best rivalry name, an unofficial name, but the best rivalry name I've come across.
Yeah, unofficial that should become official soon enough.
Embrace it.
Grant Wells in the gun, takes the snap, fakes the handoff, he takes off left, and he is all by his lonesome. Nobody within 10 yards, and Wells waltzes in for the touchdown. Marshall 16, Appalachian State 7. Grant Wells 12 yards for the score.
Next play, I love it, Brew. Liberty versus Western Kentucky. Terrell Pigram throws it up to Craig Bird Jr., who catches it over the defender for the touchdown. Woo! That's the way to get up there, boy.
Welcome back to the Moonshine Throwdown podcast. We have a very special episode this week, as of course it's special in the fact that Western Kentucky is going to Murfreesboro to play Middle Tennessee, historic rival. The 100 Miles of Hate is going down this weekend, and it's a must win. I hate to say must win 3 games into the season, but this is pretty much a must win right now for Western. They've got to get things on the right track, and honestly, we really don't care if Middle Tennessee ever wins a game. So it's definitely the must win for Western Kentucky this week to get the season going. They're getting ready to face one heck of a gauntlet after this game. It's going to get much tougher when you talk about Marshall coming to town. Then you go into UAB, you get a little bit of a break with UT Chattanooga, and then they're going out to Provo to play current number 22 BYU. So the Tops really got to get a win this week to get some momentum going into the game we love the most, the Moonshine Throwdown on 10-10 in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I alluded in a tweet earlier that we've got something up our sleeves this week, and we most certainly do. So, Topper fans, you are in for what we hope will be the first in a continuing series, and something that will bring a little bit of better perspective to our episodes. Joining us this week, we have former Western Kentucky Hilltopper, all-timer, fan favorite, number 15, Takori and Coco Darden, joining the show. Coco, it's so great to have you with us. We are pumped for the insight you're going to bring this week.
I appreciate y'all for having me. Go Tops, man.
The fans are going to love this. They listen to Steven and I talk on and on and on week after week, and we're just fans. You know, I'm not a coach. I really wasn't ever a player. I'm just passionate about the teams that we talk about, but it'll be a real treat to have a player's perspective, and especially one that has taken part in numerous 100 Miles of Hate games, a lot of those real close, hard-fought games. Steve's with me as well, so he's being awful quiet back there, but you know what you're going to get with Steven. You always get the quality, stats, insight, analysis, and expert opinion, we'll call it. Let's talk about Middle Tennessee. Currently 0-3 on the season. Power Index loves the Tops this weekend in a away game. 88.3% chance to win. Toppers are -7. Over under 54 points if you're into that sort of thing. The game, of course, going down Saturday, October 3rd at 4 p.m. Central Time on ESPN3. This is the 70th all-time meeting between Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky. Tops are closing the series lead on Middle. It is now 33 wins for Western, 35 for Middle, and 1 tie. Toppers won the last one, and they've won 4 out of 5. The last one, though, was a close one, 31-26, of course, in 2019. What do we know about Middle Tennessee? Well, basically, they are giving up a ton of points this season. They're allowing 42 points per game while only scoring 16. They're a little bit pass heavy, 94 yards higher on the pass inside than rushing, 211 pass yards per game versus 117 on the ground. And, of course, Asher O'Hara, once again, current leading passer and rusher for Middle Tennessee, that dual-threat quarterback, which has been a little bit of a bugaboo for the Tops this season. So they got to face a mobile quarterback, dual-threat guy for the 3rd consecutive week. We'll see if they can get it right this week. So let's talk about the game. Steven, I imagine you're going to the game, yes?
Planning on it, yes, sir.
Okay. Coco, are you going to the game?
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay, he's not. That's all right.
I feel like it's bad luck. I went to the Louisville game and the home game. I feel like it's bad luck. I'm gonna take off this week and try. Hopefully, get the dub.
All right, fair enough. But do me a favor, since next week is a home game, I want to see you there against Marshall because I'm flying all the way up from Tampa to be there. And I got to see some of my good friends in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We're going to have another good time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm there for sure.
At the house. Great. Steve, what are your feelings in general about the game before we talk about players to look out for since you're going to the game? What do you feel about Middle Tennessee, the atmosphere, the environment? We know it'll be a fraction of the crowd there, but really that's nothing new at Middle Tennessee. They don't really pack the house out anyway in a non-COVID season. They specialize in gray bleacher outs. So it's never a raucous atmosphere in Murfreesboro. So what do you think about your chances this week?
You got a couple teams both coming in looking to get their first victory. Neither one of them expected to be winless at this point. Middle at a game last week against TSA slipped through their fingers that they could have won. They had a lot of penalties and self-inflicted injury penalties and turnovers that really cost them the game. Western's still looking to figure things out on the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, just kind of got to keep those big plays in front of them and get off the field on third down. That really kind of seems to be the Achilles heel right now. And I fully trust that our staff is going to be prepared for what Middle's going to do. And we're going to start to clean it up and start off conference play with victory.
Yeah, we talked about that before. We think that Conference USA play entering the conference schedule is really a big dose of the right kind of medicine for the Toppers to get it right. You start playing guys that you're familiar with, coaches that you tend to know their tendencies. Coco, from a broad strokes perspective, before we even talk about some of these players, which I know you are quite familiar with, how are you feeling about the Tops entering this game against Middle Tennessee, who is struggling? They're giving up tons of points. They can't see. With the exception of last week, they put 35 on the board, but that still only brings their season average to 16 points per game. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about the Tops going into Murfreesboro in this big rivalry game, really?
Yeah, of course, it's a big game. The way I see it is both teams looking for a win. They're fighting for a win, and the Tops for sure. I know that they're out there grinding hard this week, and I see them coming together. They got to try to find themselves first, coming together as a team and find themselves first and go out there and just do what we've been doing, what we used to, and we'll see a different team than the first two games.
So you think we know that there's tons of talent. We've previewed every position up and down the roster. We know the star power is there on this Toppers defense and really to a certain extent on the offense. There are some more question marks now with a new quarterback behind center. Of course, we've got to bring up, since it happened since the last time we had a show, wide receiver Ja'Cour Pearson's entered the transfer portal. So that's one more weapon that's now gone from the wide receiver room, and that's a big loss. So you're talking about a second-team all-conference wide receiver. So we know the star power's there. We know the players are there, the skill and the ability. You say they just need to come together. Do you think it's kind of like a scenario where we just need to see the guys just play their ball? Stop maybe overthinking things, just have a little fun out there, a little bit more fun? Is that what we're seeing?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's too tense. I think the players, like you said, need to have more fun. That's a couple things that I've noticed when I watch the games. I feel like the team should celebrate more as a team when somebody make a play or something like that, instead of like being tense. I feel it's a lot of seniors on the team, so most players is like, this is a very important year. Like I gotta get to the next level. This is a very important year. Instead of thinking of more of like of the team and getting together as a team and getting your awards from the team awards from winning.
Yeah, I made the point last week that I thought that Western Kentucky needed to get their swagger back, and it doesn't feel like it's gone. It just feels like not the same amount of hooting and hollering that we're used to seeing after that big hit or that long run or the nice catch. We saw Craig Burt Jr. make the Moss segment last weekend, and for an outstanding catch. So it's those type of things that we would generally see guys go absolutely crazy and see that carry over series after series after series. So I hope you're right. I hope it's just a matter of settling in and having fun, laying some big hits. And of course, when you get to do that against Middle Tennessee, those emotions start to bubble up a little bit more. Yeah. You can't deny it. It's a big game.
Yeah, that's why I think it'll all come together this game, because this is a big game. just Middle Tennessee. A boy's blood. It gets you going. So it'll be a lot more celebrations. Hopefully, we get that swagger back this game.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's talk about some of those guys on that Middle Tennessee roster that'll try to keep that from happening. And of course, when you talk Middle Tennessee, it begins and ends with the quarterback for them. Number 10, quarterback Asher O'Hara, 56 out of 84 on the season, 527 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions through 3 games. He's tossing it up for grabs this year. 45 carries for 124 yards, 1 touchdown on the ground, like I said before. Leading rusher and passer on the team, just like he was last year. But we've got to feature a running back. So let's talk about number 2, running back Jay McDonald, 13 carries on the year, but he does have 100 yards. That's 7.7 yards per carry. Mm-hmm. Couple of wideouts that will be looking to find the end zone. Number 9, wide receiver Jaron Pierce, leading receiver receptions and yardage wise, 22 receptions, 221 yards. Hasn't found the end zone yet. And then number 7, wide receiver DJ England Chisholm, 6 catches, 95 yards, but he has found the end zone once. There are some capable weapons on this Middle Tennessee offense. What do you think? We're gonna move the segment up a little bit. What do you expect to see from this Western Kentucky defense to kind of cancel out or take advantage in some scenarios to what this Middle Tennessee offense likes to do? From a player's perspective who's been there and done that, been in those meetings and rooms and practices, what do you think we're going to see from the Tops defense this week?
From a player standpoint, going against number 10, going into the game, he's going to be on your mind. So he's the player to really stop. He's very mobile, so I feel the defense got to have in mind from the back end to plaster, stay on their man, because he's mobile. He can get out the pocket. He can move around and create longer plays. And from a contain issue, I feel like we got to contain the edge, which our D-line does a very good job of. Get back there and get pressure on them, and know who has the quarterback and know who has the running back when they do the RPO stuff like that. Contain the edge, contain the quarterback. I would like to see the Tops have more zone eyes, so more players can have eyes on the quarterback, just in case he scramble and get loose, protect him from getting like that first down that we might need to stop for the third down or something like that.
Yeah, we've seen, much to our dismay, and our surprise really, that Western has been gashed in 2 separate ways. Louisville gashed them through the air, Liberty gashed them on the ground, so we're left scratching our heads like we know these guys aren't. This is not what we're used to seeing. So what's the deal? So it sounds like communication may have been a little bit of a breakdown in these first couple of games, which is not something that I really considered. And we know that Malone and Juwan Jones are absolute known entities on the edges for Western Kentucky. They're the finest group of pass rushers in the Conference USA, in our opinion. So it's we know what we're going to get from those guys. So if we can get a little relief from the other guys, from the linebacking core, and of course, Kincaid and Dev Key are leading the team in tackles at 1 and 2. So, we know what we're getting from the secondary. Steven, what do you think you're going to see from this Western Kentucky defense to kind of put a handle on O'Hara and slow down some of these receivers from breaking out?
Yeah, I think you just have to keep pressure on him. Like any mobile quarterback, you don't want him to get comfortable back there. He can throw the ball. He's a very capable passer, probably more apt at running, though. I think as long as we keep pressure on him, keep him off his spot, he's shown that he can make poor decisions if you keep him under pressure. And hopefully we can keep them behind the sticks, not converting those, just crazy broken down plays, which is just kind of hurt us this year when we've had good defensive plays. But then the play breaks down, and we've had some scrambling quarterbacks that can just make plays with their feet. Credit to them. But just like to see our guys on the edge apply pressure, and those linebackers just seal up the gaps, and like Coco said, just contain the quarterback. Know who has that man, and the running back when they try to slip him free, because they like to run a lot of screen plays. That Tony Franklin offense, they'll run a lot of slip screens. Just knowing your assignments, knowing your man, and staying in position, keeping the play in front of you. I think that's going to be
O'Hara
key.
He came on like gangbusters last year, and really nobody had a real answer for him. And it looks like at least in the beginning parts of this season, that some teams have figured some things out. Now, I don't really know how strong UTSA is defensively. He kind of had a pretty good day on him last week, but it's a rivalry game. Throw that all out the window. We say that every time the Tops and the Herd are locking horns. You can throw it out the window. The stats on the paper don't matter because when you get between the white lines, it's a completely different ball game. So let's hope that we see a little bit of that happening for the Tops this week, and we see some more characteristic play of what we're used to seeing. Let's talk about some defensive guys. Just like Western, Middle Tennessee's two leading tacklers are both secondary players. Both of them are safeties. Actually, everybody knows by now number 12, Reed Blankenship. Feels like he's been in the league for like 20 years. 22 tackles, 13 of those solo and 1 pass defended. Number 3, Gregory Great Jr., second leading tackler, 21 total tackles, 15 of those solo. Also has a forced fumble and an interception in this season. Linebacker, number 20, DQ Thomas, 17 tackles, 7 solo and 1 sack. Now, we just talked about Western Kentucky defense. What are they going to do against the Middle Tennessee offense? Well, let's flip the script a little bit. Based on what we see here and based on what we know, that Middle's allowing a lot of yards. They're allowing a lot of points. Coco, what are we going to see from this Topper offense this week? What do you think the emphasis is going to be on the game plan?
The emphasis is most definitely the run game. I like to see Gage Walker have a outstanding game. Knowing that the two safeties have the most tackles, that's letting us know that the running backs is getting downfield, getting to that next level, and so that's what we want to do. We want to get Gage to that next level, and I feel once Gage or any of our running backs, once they're to that next level, they can make a safety miss a couple times throughout the game, man. That'll also open up our pass game, get the quarterback more comfortable. More deep plays downfield, suck the safeties up, more deep plays downfield, and also open up the screen game as well.
Steve, I should have prefaced this before I asked Coco, but I'm going to ask you now since it popped into my head. What are we going to expect to see from this Topper defense or offense? We know we're going to see a commitment to the run, at least early on. Man, Jet is not liking that. We know we're going to see a commitment from the run at least early on. But given the fact that we have lost a big weapon in the receiving game, does that change things this week? What do you think you're going to see from Brian Ellis, the Tyson Helton and crew offensively?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with Coco. I think the running game has to be a huge focal point. I think the best way to neutralize Asher O'Hara is to keep him on the sideline.
True.
If you keep your offense out running long drives, successful running plays, I think that'll be huge. And I think earlier in the week, they said Craig Burt might be injured, might be questionable for this game. I haven't heard an update on that situation, so that could put even more pressure on the running game. Obviously we hope he plays, but I think the offensive line and Gage Walker or whoever's back there in the backfield, those guys kind of need to shoulder the load, take some of the pressure off of Piggy. And like Coco said, it's going to open up the passing game. Once you start to put that pressure on their defensive line and their secondary to come down and try to stop and fill those gaps, then all of a sudden you can run a play action and throw something over the top and hit a big play. So that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, so we've talked offense, we've talked defense. Let's put into 4 main points before, about really what we're expecting to see. It doesn't necessarily have to be from an X's and O's standpoint, but what do you think we're going to see from Western Kentucky? And to give you an idea of what I mean, I'll start and give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about. Number 1 for me, I expect Western Kentucky to absolutely play much stronger defense. We just will not continue to see the trajectory of yards allowed that we've seen. It just will not happen. So I expect this week to be the week that the Toppers get a lot more stingy on the defensive side of the ball. And I really can see them only allowing roughly half of their season average this year, which is, nearly 400 yards. I mean, we're talking about maybe 250 yards of total offense for Middle Tennessee in a heated rivalry game. Number 2, I think this is the week that Joshua Simon breaks out, because we really haven't seen him be a huge factor yet. Just a few receptions on the year, but when you talk about Ja'Cour Pearson being gone now. You mentioned Craig Burt potentially being gone for this week. We're not 100% on that. It just lends itself to the fact that the man is a playmaker and you got to get him the ball. This is a great week for him to break out. Number 3, I think we're going to see a more creative offensive playbook than we've seen the past couple of weeks. Just because, like I said before, I don't want to call this a must-win kind of season-hinging game, but it's damn sure one you don't want to lose staring at the schedule that you've got coming in. So some plays that you may not have seen run until later in the year, you might see those this week. And number 4, I think they're actually going to play like the season is on the line. And that lends itself to more of what Coco was saying earlier, just playing looser, having more fun with more swagger. Like there's really not, there shouldn't be as much tension to get every single play right. And if you play looser and having more fun, then really playing like the season on the line makes it easy. You tend to go out there and play better. Things seem to work for you. You seem to catch those breaks that are going against you. So what do you think, Coco, we're going to see from Western Kentucky? Just 3 or 4 points, broad strokes, like I just handed out there against Middle Tennessee this week.
Okay. When I mention my points, it's going to be to win. So,
I got that too. So we can go right to that if you want to do that.
Okay. Well, like you said, a much stronger defense. I feel like we'll see the defense having more fun. They'll find themselves. And from an offensive standpoint, we'll see the running backs have a day, and we'll see more plays, like you said. We'll see a lot of plays that goes over 10 yards for sure. Because I feel like Helton's going to open that playbook, like you said, and to win. Are we going there yet?
Yeah, go there. Yeah.
To win. I feel our run game, like I just said, has to be good. And from defense standpoint, we have to contain the quarterback. We have to contain the quarterback and plaster on the deep end. Stay on our man because he can get out the pocket and he can throw it up and just make sure we stay on top, don't panic, and get us a couple picks, turnovers.
Steve,
and win the special team battle too.
That's always key.
You can't forget about that.
we never bring that up until we do a wrap up episode from the game, and then it's always about how solid special teams was or how much it was a factor. I mean, believe me, we lend a lot of love to the specialists on this podcast. That's for sure. Yeah. Steve, what do you think that?
I bet that you don't notice until the next day. You notice how big special teams was in the game.
Well, that's true. I mean, we definitely know. We sing the praises of John Haggerty all the time on this podcast. He is an absolute weapon for the Western Kentucky Hilltop. He's so much of a weapon that we don't have to talk about him because we just expect greatness every week, and for the most part, we get it.
He does it. That's what he does. That's how he does.
Steven, what are we thinking? What do you think the Tops are going to need to do to get a dub this week?
Yeah, I think it's big that they're coming off a bye week. They've got a little bit more game film on Middle. They've got 3 games worth of film that they've been able to watch and kind of see their tendencies and what they're doing this season. Having a bye week to clean things up, get healthy, and just get prepared for this game. Piggy now has another week under his belt, so actually 2 weeks since our last game to get more familiarity with the offense, with the playmakers, with the playbook. And that's just going to make him more comfortable back there, calling plays, running plays, and executing. That seemed to kind of be a hiccup. We've gotten off the field several times on, just quick 3 and outs. There's been some penalties there that have held us back. But I expect offensively we'll come in, we'll be a lot better, lean on that run game, let our offensive line do the thing. Middle's giving up a lot of yards. So I think that should easily be a strength coming into this game. And then defensively, again, they've also had 2 weeks to look at film, see where the breakdowns, either in positioning or communication, whatever it may have been, that have allowed big plays to occur versus Louisville and then versus Liberty, both who had dual threat quarterbacks. And you're going to expect that same thing against Middle Tennessee. Asher's going to bring it. He's a very athletic and competitive guy. And I expect our defense is going to step up. We're going to contain him. It's hard to look at last year's game. Last year was a monsoon and a downpour at the Houch. It was a sloppy game. I think this year it might be opened up on both sides a little bit more. It's looking like good weather this weekend, and both teams are going to want to win. Like you said, it's a rivalry. Throw out the who's favored and, who should win, who's going to win. It's going to be a nail biter. I don't think either team is going to blow the other out of the water. I expect it to come down to whoever has the ball last, whoever plays the cleaner game, the penalties and turnovers. And hopefully the Tops do all those things and come out with a victory in Murfreesboro.
Well, it sure would be nice. And we would be absolute fools to think that they're not having similar conversations on the other side. Middle Tennessee's got to get a win too. They're going to be creative with their playbook. They're going to try to throw some things at Western that they probably didn't want to let out of the bag this early. So they're going to be going all out as well. And they're at home. So they have the added pressure of beating a rival at home in a winless season so far. But look, for me, it's always eerily wild how our points to victory are almost the same. And it's no different this week, especially when we have a third member, a guest. I mean, my number one point was you got to minimize Asher O'Hara's damage. He's going to get yards. He's going to make plays. But how much you allow that to happen is absolutely the number one key to victory for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Mm-hmm. Number two, I wrote Walker's got to get the hard yards. And what I mean by that is they might have to rely on him to get that 3rd and 2 and move the chains. We know he's more of a busted long kind of shifty, shaky back, but in a game like this, when yards might be at a premium, you got to be able to count on your guy to get you 2 hard yards to move those chains. And that's not to say that's all he's going to get, but there will be circumstances throughout this game, 2, 3, 4 times maybe, where he'll be counted on to move the chains. And if he can do that every time, I think that really lends itself to Western Kentucky getting a win because, like Steven said, O'Hara remains on the sideline. The Tops are 10 yards closer. Rinse and repeat. Number 3, I think that Mitchell Tinsley and if Craig Burt plays must elevate their games faster than they otherwise would have had to with the departure of Ja'Cour Pearson. We're going to need to see the guy in the wide receiver room because we knew Pearson was the guy. He was. A lot of leadership there, a lot of stats, a lot of playmaking, explosive ability. I'm on record as saying I think he was the best at yards after the catch in the league. And now we've got to have guys emerge to be that new outside threat, that new inside threat, because let's face it, it's just a big loss. To piggyback off of that, this would be a great week to see Trainer break out, to bust onto the scene for a lot of people that, are outside of the Western Kentucky circle that don't know the ability that the guy has and is sitting there on the roster. So this would be a great week for him to, quote, burst on the scene in the Conference USA race.
Yeah.
Number 4, defensively. I love Dev Key, have for many years. I love what Kincaid does. But this week, to get a win, I believe that Malone, Jones, and Kyle Bailey must lead defensively. If all the tackles are in the front 7, then that just means that something's going right for Western Kentucky defensively. There's no knock on Dev Key. It's no knock on Kincaid. We know what they can do. We know they're all conference caliber players. But we can't have them combining for 25 tackles in this game.
Yeah,
we need to see it all up front this week. So that means that, of course, that the Raiders aren't moving the chains, and that's what we want. Mm-hmm. So moving on, guys, it's 200 proof player time. This is our guy who's going to be the guy this week, who's going to lead the charge, play the most important role, whatever you want to call it, to get in Western Kentucky the win, a much-needed win. Coco, who you got for your 200 proof player this week? Who's the man against Middle Tennessee?
I think the man against Middle Tennessee will be a guy we're going to depend on to get those yards. And like you said, it's Gage Walker.
Yeah. It's time for him to have a breakout game as well. What was it, Steve? Over 1,200 yards last season, and we're off to a really slow start this year. No time like the present to break out for a buck 50, and get back out there as being known as a lethal runner in Conference USA. Steve, who's your guy this week?
Yeah, I 100% agree with Coco, man. I think it's going to be Gage. I think he's going to be the guy that keeps us on the field, keep drives going, and put some points on the board. So I definitely think we're going to lean on him for the offense, and I think he's going to step up and be the capable running back that we know he is. We've just been in spots where we've not been running the ball as much with games and the flow that we've had to those games. So I think the game plan is going to be to put it in his belly and let him make some plays.
I can't say that I disagree, but I went in a different direction this week. I'm picking Piggy T as my 200 proof player because I feel like he's got to take the charge and lead to a victory this week. We talked about it in previous episodes, and you said you didn't even want to think about Middle Tennessee getting a win. And I don't either, but, the questions will start to be asked. Will the heat crank up in the quarterback room? Will we start asking the questions? Will the fans start getting a little bit unruly, wanting to see a change? I mean, those are things you don't want to have to address. Mm-hmm. And I think for all of those reasons, this is a great week for Piggy T to be the man and go out and lead the Tops to a victory. It's not to say that Gage won't go for 150 or find the end zone a couple of times, but ultimately, when you touch the ball every snap, it's going to fall on you to be the guy. And he made a stride last week a couple weeks ago against Liberty, and we'll see if he can continue to make a bigger stride and turn the heat down a little bit in the quarterback room because Marshall looms, and boy, they look tough this year. How about a score prediction, guys? Coco, what do you got for a score this week?
I got Tops coming out on top, 31-13.
Ooh. Big time win. All right, 31-13. Steven, I like the confidence. Do you match the confidence of Coco Darden?
I hope he's right. 100% I hope he's right. But I've got it a little bit closer. Just historically, it's been close. Both teams coming in a little struggling and inconsistent. I've got a 31-28 Hilltopper victory.
All right, tight one. We're on the same kind of trajectory. I give the Tops a 7-point win. I like the fact that they're favored by 7. And that's what I like them to win by. Give me the Toppers 27-20 and continuing to ruin the Middle Tennessee football season, which we love to see. Let's edge towards closing out this week. Steve, let's get some final thoughts. Coco will follow you up with that. Stephen, what do you got this week in final thoughts?
First of all, just from a fan and alumni perspective, I just want to say it was a pleasure having Coco on the episode today. Just getting to know him since 2017 when he earned a scholarship under the Sanford coaching staff. And then, just season after season after that, seemed like every game preview and game recap we did, we knew what you were going to bring, a very skilled and talented player that earned a scholarship and then went out there and backed it up with your play on the field. So definitely great. And then if everyone hasn't had the chance, WKU Sports just released a feature on Amari Alexander, and Coco has quite a bit of mention in that. I know they have a very similar path to their playing careers here at Western. Seems like they're very close friends and brothers. So you just love to hear those kind of stories, man. Just guys that have worked their tail off, and now that you're on the other side of things, you're an alumni, you're a fan, you're getting to watch it like we are. It's just exciting to have your perspective here. And I just know that whatever you decide to do in life now after football, you're going to be successful because that's the kind of hard worker you are. So love having you here, man. I appreciate your time on the Hill. And I'm glad we got another Darden now that's suiting up for us. So keep that bloodline. We like to have that streamline. Keep them coming if y'all got some more cousins down the line.
I got you.
But, just looking for a turnaround to the season. Like we've said, it kind of feels like a must win. We don't want to be 0-3. We don't want to lose to Middle. That's for sure. We want to start off conference play with the win. So let's turn it around. And like I said, KD, now's the time to do it. No time like now. So go Tops.
No time like the present. Coco, what do you got for final thoughts this week? You can talk about anything, really. It doesn't necessarily have to be the game. This is just our kind of little segment to put out what's on our mind this week. So what do you got for final thoughts this week?
Final thoughts. First of all, go Tops. From a fan standpoint, we just got to stay rolling with them. They will find themselves, and we will see it this week. And appreciate y'all for having me on here. I like this part. I like this thing that y'all got going. It's pretty nice. Keep it going also. So preparing for this, I feel like I was preparing for game days. I had to go watch a little more film. Okay, let's do it. I wrote down a couple of notes. So it was a good experience for me. It brought me back memories of going into game day. So it was fun. I appreciate y'all, and I appreciate those kind words you just gave me.
We really do appreciate you having you here. This has been a unique experience for us because, like I said, we haven't really dabbled into players breaking down from an X's and O's standpoint for us and offering insight from what, bringing from their own personal experiences. And Stephen is right. I've got to talk to you about, I got stacks of notebooks. I mean, I have a notebook for each season that I write pages of notes for each game to get prepared. And if I were to go back and dig through those from seasons past, I can't tell you off the top of my head how many times Coco Darden was my 200 proof player who was going to be the guy, or he was going to be a big impact player, or, how many times in our wrap ups that you had what was it? Was it last year you laid the wood on some dude? I don't remember what that was. I know it was you. You laid somebody out. I don't remember which game it was.
It was 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I remember that.
Last year. I mean, I had a couple, but last year.
No, but one was like it made its rounds, pseudo viral video in our circles, and I remember that. I remember loving every second of it. But no, you've been a big part of what we've done here. This podcast. I mean, this is season 5 for us, and we absolutely love doing this. We love the weekly podcast. We love breaking down the games. We love giving the fans the insight and analysis and bringing them things like this, hopefully that we can continue to do. I know that they'll love that. So it wouldn't really surprise me if this, after it's announced that you're on this episode, becomes one of our, if not our top downloaded episode for Western Kentucky, not just this season, but probably in a number of years. Right. I'll be up there next week. As long as the game doesn't get canceled, I'm making a flight from Tampa up to Bowling Green, and we're going to have ourselves a fun weekend. I hope to see you up there. I'd like to say hi, shake your hand, elbow bump, whatever you're into with this COVID thing going on. Yeah. But Western Kentucky's got to get a win this week. There's no two ways about it. The fans are going to get a little bit restless, and we already see to a certain extent when it gets to be October, mid-October, November, guys are already – a lot of fans are already like, bring on basketball season. And we hate that. I hate that. It's football season, man. So we got to get some wins. We got to keep some of those fans engaged. Of course, a big game this week, big game next week. 2 wins in 2 weeks would definitely bring a lot of those fans back in. But let's just go take care of business this week at Middle Tennessee State, and then we'll worry about the moonshine throwdown against Marshall. Stephen, let's get out of here this week. Since Trace is not here, I will take care of his part. Coco, thank you so much for joining us. Anytime you want to do this again, you are absolutely welcome. You do not need to wait on an invite, but if you need me to invite you, I will. All you got to do is hit me in the DMs and say, hey, man, I'd like to come on the pod. I'd like to talk about the game coming up, or I'd like to be on. If you want to come and wrap up the game with us next week, that'd be fine too. This is a lot more free. We don't have an SID worrying about what we're saying. We don't have any bosses. Like, this is our show. We answer to ourselves. So it's a lot more fun. But you did a hell of a job. No need to treat it like a game. We don't break down film. We just talk about what we think is going to be important. But anyway,
I am.
I know. Hey, I get it. I get it. But you are absolutely welcome anytime you want to come back. Steve, take us out of here this week.
All right, man. Go Tops.
Go Herd. We'll see you next week. It's the Moonshine Throwdown Podcast. Later.